be upon you all. Today, let us reflect on the theme, how to form oneself in studies and holiness. According to St. Francis de Sales, let us reflect on the theme, how to form ourselves in studies. For St. Francis de Sales, knowledge is the eighth sacrament. Generally, we get this knowledge through learning. It is a long process which begins from birth and continues till death. Therefore, this learning doesn't take place merely in the schools, colleges, and universities, but also from our life experiences. When we look at the life of St. Francis de Sales, from his mother, he learned to be kind and generous, and from his father, he learned to be courageous and gentle. Since his father found in him a desire for learning, he sent him to the school in his early age and later to Padua, where he not only studied the law but also theology. This learning that he learned in the school, Padua, and from life experience strengthened him spiritually, mentally, physically, and morally. This made him to help his companions during his studies and later helped him in his mission as a priest and ministry as a bishop. This is what he learned. Whatever St. Francis de Sales learned, he learned for life, not for name and fame. Today, he invites you and me to learn not only for livelihood and survival, but to learn to live an enriching life for God and for mission. Secondly, holiness. When we think about holiness, generally we think that holiness can be achieved only through fasting, abstaining from bad habits and meat, forgiving the enemies, and doing lots of almsgiving. But in fact, according to St. Francis de Sales, all these activities merely cannot make a person to be holy. In the words of St. Francis de Sales, he who is in the habit of fasting will think that because he fasts, he is very devout, even though his heart is filled with hatred. Another considers oneself devout because of the very great number of prayers one recites every day, even though soon after this one speaks words that are annoying. Another very gladly opens his purse to give alms to the poor, but cannot take gentleness from his heart to forgive his enemies. Another will forgive his enemies, but will not pay what he is supposed to unless he is legally forced to do so. For St. Francis de Sales, everyone is called to be holy. The attainment of holiness differs from person to person and depends on the occupation. If we want to attain holiness and do great things without a good intention, all these activities are considered nothing. But if we do little things with a good intention, they please God. At the same time, they enable us to grow in holiness. For instance, on the way, picking up a paper is far better than giving the provisions to the poor and needy without intention. This is what St. Francis de Sales lived throughout his life. At the same time, St. Francis de Sales reminds us that within a day, or a month, or a year, attaining the holiness is not possible. It is a long process. In that process, sometimes we may fall and fail. But he tells us, by imploring God's grace, we must go on striving for holiness. This is what he lived throughout his life. This is how and what today he invites you and me to grow in holiness. Let us strive to achieve holiness after the example of St. Francis de Sales. Live Jesus.